there was a major change in the law in 2008, 2009. This was relevant to tax sales because they completely revamped the process for how you purchase tax sales, and most importantly, on the back end, how you gain possession and merchantable title to these properties to be able to do anything with. Before, you had a tax sale regime that was pretty similar to what we have now. You go and bid in the annual tax sale and you buy it. The problem is, after 3 years, you could go and get a quiet title judgment. You could get a judge to sign off, but case law and the statutory law was so muddled that no underwriter was willing to insure these unless you could show that you had actually found every single person that had a former ownership interest and served them personally, or had such a high standard to do it that it was functionally impossible. So the result was what you saw, Jim, which is blighted properties everywhere. It was the classic case of academic ideas on due process and how to accomplish these things to protect rights, and the reality of a city crumbling under its dilapidated blight that nobody could do with. So there had to be a reconciliation of that. That reconciliation occurred in 2008, 2009. The big impetus for that is Katrina. I mean, this was a flood of, frankly, biblical proportions where, half the city was washed away. There were
80%.
already title issues everywhere. So you had already properties that were tangled up and were in bad financial straits. And then people just left through no fault of their own. They said, I don't have the resources or the physical or mental capacity to do this, or emotional capacity. And so that left us with tangled title issues and properties that were just sitting in areas, and everyone said, we've got to rebuild. Well, you can't just say you want to rebuild, you have to put in ways to do it. And that change in law was a major, major vehicle that allowed for a lot of these properties that were abandoned, blighted, either because of Katrina or long before Katrina, to put them back into commerce, actually be able to do something with it. Areas that were, absolutely obliterated, like the Ninth Ward, Araby, that were maybe middle class, working class areas where there were not the financial resources to do that. There had to be an incentive to do it. And this was a big impetus for that.
You said underwriters. So that's title insurance.
Yeah.
We're talking about. So you couldn't get a title insurer to insure it. Therefore, you couldn't get a lender to lend into it. I may have title, but I may have trouble actually, even if I bought it and renovated, selling it and having title insurance for a buyer, which a lender would require.
Yeah. And so if you've got a property and you go, well, I got a judge to give me a judgment and I'm the owner of record on here, but nobody will loan me money because I can't get a title insurance policy. Functionally, that you don't have good title. You can't do anything with it, or you're so limited in what you can do with it that it's not really usable. The key thing was, number one, the law changed in 2008, 2009 to allow for a new regime and a new way of quieting title on these. And the second is that we had underwriters that were willing to step in and review their process and give a pathway to get these to an insurable title so that you could build on it and could do it. And those were the big watershed moments that allowed that to happen. And once that was in place and people were confident loaning money on them, people were confident that they weren't going to have their title pulled out from underneath them, that their investment was secure. Because whether you're a builder or a first-time home buyer, or you're just a property investor, you want your investment to be secure. You don't want to lose money. And for many people, losing money is more than that. It's losing their livelihood. It's their home. You've got to feel confident and backed by a guarantee and a title policy, and know that you not only will be able to own it with security, you'll be able to mortgage it, use the equity you have in it, and that if you need to sell it, you'll be able to sell it, and you're not going to be so limited that it's going to hurt your bottom line either.
Well, you can sell it and then put it into commerce. And it's the young builders that I remember that were coming in and buying these things and renovating them, then putting a lot of money into them and then selling them off. I would imagine that would be absolutely impossible, because I know some of these properties went for $10,000, $20,000, whatever, for a pittance. And then they'd basically put in $100,000, $200,000 worth of construction in them and then try to turn around and sell them for a profit.
I was working at Civic Source, who was the vendor who handled a lot of these tax sales and adjudicated sales of these types of properties. And when I was doing that at the time, this is not too long after Katrina, it's about a decade after, but there were whole areas in St. Bernard Parish, Chalmette, all the way out in Violet. And at the time, people were buying these lots for $5,000, $6,000, $10,000. And we were looking at that going, there's nothing out there. No, why would anyone buy this? Fast forward 3, 4, 5 years, and there's new construction homes out there. Big investors were then selling them to build, put in 5,000 in 2017, and we're selling them for 60,000 in 2022. The market goes up and down, but that's allowed a vehicle for places like Araby, Chalmette, Greater St. Bernard Parish, and different areas throughout South Louisiana to put these areas that seemed hopeless at the time back into commerce and create affordable housing for people that just wasn't available before.